Hello, zodiac sign of harmony, elegance, and quiet power Libra. This isn't just another horoscope. This is a divine transmission. A soul map. A mirror of your inner world, reflected by the stars. Welcome to Zodiac Whisper Tarot, where we listen for what the universe is trying to whisper through the noise. Let me ask you something bold. What if everything that feels out of balance in your life right now isn't a sign that something's wrong, but a sign that something rare, powerful, and destined is beginning? If your heart has been heavy, if you felt a quiet chaos under the surface, a nudge in your chest, a shift in your dreams, a silent unraveling of things that used to make sense, then listen closely. You didn't click on this video by accident. You were called. A rare cosmic portal, one that only opens once every 12 years, is aligning directly with your energy, Libra. It's not here to throw you off course. It's here to bring you back to your true balance, a deeper equilibrium, the kind your soul has longed for but couldn't name. And I see it. I see you. The Justice card, your birthright archetype, is rising. This means that clarity is coming. But it may come in a way that challenges your comfort zone. The truth may not come dressed in peace. It may arrive in disruption. In honesty. In hard choices that finally free you from what's been silently weighing you down. Because as scripture says, you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. And for you, Libra, this is the moment of truth. Your higher self brought you here for a reason. So take a breath. You're not behind. You're not lost. You're not broken. You're standing at the edge of something profound. And the first step is awareness. Drop into this moment with me. Set your intention right now. And if you feel that resonance, I invite you to comment below. I am Libra. I allow myself to enter a new state of balance. Because saying it out loud is the first spell. Claiming it opens the door. Let me also take a moment to say this, from the bottom of my heart. Thank you. Every like, every comment, every subscription, it's not just data. It's connection. It's energetic fuel that powers this sacred space, this growing circle we're creating together on Zodiac Whisper Tarot. Your support makes it possible to bring these messages to life. And believe me, Libra, you will want to stay with me until the very last moment of today's reading. Because what the universe is revealing right now, it's not just beautiful. It's life-changing. So tell me, what strange little sign or synchronicity pulled you here today? What's been whispering to your intuition and asking you to pay closer attention? Let's find out together. Stay with me, beautiful soul. The revelation begins now. Sometimes, the moment everything feels like it's coming undone is actually the first real moment of alignment. When things begin to shift, it's easy to assume we're falling apart, that the balance we worked so hard to build is somehow being taken from us. But balance, true balance, isn't the absence of tension or discomfort. It's the presence of inner truth. And right now, Libra, the universe is inviting you to stop maintaining the illusion of peace and begin honoring the real kind, the kind that begins within. What you're experiencing may feel unfamiliar. Maybe it's a quiet discontent with the roles you've played for too long, or a subtle exhaustion from saying yes when your heart whispered no. These are not signs of failure. They are sacred signals. You are not being punished. You are being invited to participate more fully in your life, not as someone who smooths everything over for others, but as someone who creates peace because they are living from a place of clarity and self-respect. The Justice card, your cosmic mirror, reminds us that truth and balance are not opposites, they are twins. Sometimes, telling the truth means disrupting a surface-level calm, but in doing so, we make room for something deeper, more honest, and far more healing. The decisions you are facing now, whether in love, career, or your sense of self, are not about right or wrong. They're about what's right for you. There is a difference. You've spent so much of your life calibrating to the energies around you, learning how to make others feel safe. But now, Libra, the energy is shifting. The scales are turning inward. The question isn't, what will keep things stable? The question is, what will make me whole? The Two of Swords captures the heart of this moment, that internal tug of war between head and heart, duty and desire, fear and freedom. It's okay not to have clarity yet. The power is not in rushing to a decision. It's in giving yourself permission to feel, to ask better questions, and to pause long enough to hear the answer that's already forming beneath the noise. Inner conflict is often the sign that your inner compass is recalibrating, and that means something in you is waking up to what really matters now. And then comes Temperance, the quiet priestess of healing and integration. This card doesn't ask you to swing to extremes or make dramatic declarations. It gently urges you to blend, to soften, to allow. It reminds you that balance is not a destination, it's a rhythm. And when you begin to listen closely to your own rhythm, the outside world slowly starts to reflect that harmony back to you. This is your time to bring together what was once separated. Your logic and your longing, your grace and your grit, your love for others and your love for yourself. Even the wisest among us are not asked to have all the answers. We are only asked to move with honesty. You may feel pressure to be decisive, polished, perfect, but remember, you are not here to perform peace. You are here to live in it. And peace is born when your inner values match your outer choices. The truest kind of balance doesn't happen when everything is under control. It happens when you trust that your inner voice is wise enough to lead you through uncertainty. Let that voice speak. Let that truth rise. Because the world doesn't need another version of who you think you should be. The world needs you, balanced not on the tightrope of perfection, but rooted in the truth that you are already enough, just as you are. Not all messages from the universe arrive with loud signs or dramatic shifts. Sometimes, they come in the gentlest forms: a dream that lingers after you wake up, a sudden wave of discomfort in the middle of a conversation, or an unshakable sense that something unseen is asking for your attention. For Libra, whose life has so often been about reading the room and anticipating others' needs, these subtle shifts may feel like noise at first. But if you listen closely, you'll realize they are signals. Quiet invitations to slow down and recalibrate. Lately, you may have noticed more dreams filled with strange but symbolic imagery: wings stretching across a sky you can't name, a mirror that won't show your face, a place that feels familiar but distant, as though it existed in another time or version of you. These aren't random. Dreams are the subconscious trying to bring order to the emotional chaos we suppress by day. And for Libra, a sign so attuned to emotional undercurrents, dreams are more than images, they're maps. Each symbol is a metaphor, pointing you back to what you've outgrown, or what your soul is ready to reclaim. There's also a physical message. Many Libras may be feeling a soft, nagging tension in the forehead, a kind of pressure between the brows. This is often connected to the sixth chakra, your center of intuition and inner vision. It's not illness. It's awakening. Your body is tuning into a frequency you've previously ignored in the name of keeping things peaceful or polished. But peace that costs your inner voice is not peace, it's avoidance. What you're sensing now is a rising call to trust your inner compass, even if it points you toward conversations or decisions that once made you hesitate. You might also feel energetically drained after pretending to be fine or agreeable in situations where you were anything but. That tension is a message too. You're no longer able to override your truth in order to create the illusion of balance. And that's not weakness. That's growth. The discomfort you feel when you're not being honest with yourself or others is no longer something you can ignore because you've outgrown the version of you that lived on compromise alone. If you're noticing repeating numbers like 2, 6, 11, 17, or 33, pause and ask yourself what was on your mind when you saw them. These are more than just coincidences. They're subtle nudges, aligning you with the frequency of divine timing. The number 2 speaks of choice and duality, the need to weigh not just logic, but what brings you peace. The number 6 gently calls you back to self-love and emotional realignment. 11 opens a new path, often through intuition rather than intellect. 17 reminds you that your mission is tied to your gift of perception. And 33, that's a sacred reminder that your ability to restore beauty and healing in the world starts with offering it to yourself. To support your energy during this time, you don't need a grand ritual. Start simple. Before sleep, ask one clear question: what would bring me real peace right now? Don't expect an answer that night, just make space for one to arrive. In the morning, spend a few quiet moments journaling anything you remember from your dreams or any emotion that lingers. Pair it with gentle music, instrumental piano, flowing water, and let your nervous system recalibrate. You don't need to understand every sign immediately. The point isn't perfection, it's presence. When you pay attention with compassion instead of judgment, clarity naturally follows. And remember what you've always known deep down: the most powerful guidance doesn't come from someone else's voice. It comes from your own, when you finally make enough space to hear it. Some changes don't begin with lightning bolts or loud endings. They begin in soft discomfort, in those moments when something that used to feel right suddenly doesn't. You may not have words for it at first. It might feel like restlessness in a conversation you've had 100 times, or a deep breath you didn't know you were holding when you agree to something you don't really want. These moments, as subtle as they seem, are the beginning of truth trying to rise to the surface. For Libra, a sign wired for peace and beauty, these shifts can be disorienting. You've spent so much of your life making sure everything around you looks and feels balanced, even if that meant sacrificing your own needs. But the universe doesn't want you to keep pretending. It wants you to finally start choosing yourself and doing it without guilt. It's entirely possible that in the days or weeks ahead, you'll come face to face with a version of yourself you've outgrown. You might find yourself in front of someone who always expected you to be accommodating, and suddenly, you'll feel your energy rejecting that quiet compliance. Or maybe, someone you trusted reveals a truth that shifts how you see them. It might not be dramatic, but it will feel irreversible. You'll realize that underneath politeness, there's a pattern of emotional imbalance that you've silently tolerated for too long. And that realization, as uncomfortable as it may be, is sacred. It's not the loss of connection, it's the rediscovery of your voice. There might also be a growing feeling that your career or role in society no longer reflects who you are. You're not being ungrateful. You're just evolving. When your internal compass no longer aligns with your external actions, the body and soul begin to speak up. You might feel tired, uninspired, or simply distant from the work or people you once loved. These feelings aren't wrong. They're invitations to realignment, a call to step away from what once kept you safe and into what now makes you feel alive. Change doesn't always require conflict, but it does require honesty. And for Libra, the most courageous act is often not pleasing others, but being true to yourself. That's the shift. And while it may feel like you're letting people down, you're actually stepping into integrity, a form of harmony that doesn't ask you to bend, just to be. You've been taught, perhaps by family, culture, or past roles, that goodness means self-sacrifice. But there's a gentler truth: your needs are not burdens. Your boundaries are not rejection. And your clarity is not cruelty. When you choose honesty over appeasement, you give others permission to do the same. It's also important to remember that even in Scripture, we're reminded to speak the truth not harshly, but lovingly. With compassion. With strength. The way you communicate doesn't have to be harsh to be firm. You're allowed to say, "This no longer feels right," and walk away without explanation. You're allowed to stay silent when pushed, to pause when confused, and to say yes only when it feels like a full-body yes. As you move through this process, give yourself grace. Change isn't just about walking away from what no longer works. It's about walking toward what reflects who you're becoming. The peace you've always searched for won't be found by smoothing things over. It will come when you stand fully in your truth and let your life reflect that quiet strength. You don't need everyone to understand, you just need to understand yourself. And once you do, Libra, everything else will begin to make sense. When your heart is stretched thin from the demands of others or the quiet ache of trying to hold everything in place, it's not always big choices that bring you back to yourself. Sometimes it's the smallest acts of intention. A soft pause in the morning, a cup of warm tea sipped slowly without a screen, or the decision to wrap yourself in a color that soothes rather than impresses. Healing isn't always loud, and it doesn't always announce itself with a dramatic shift. For Libra, whose natural rhythm leans toward grace and gentle balance, healing often begins in the stillness, in choosing what brings calm to your nervous system rather than chaos to your schedule. This is a moment to reclaim the power of quiet rituals. Your body and energy field are deeply affected by what you consume, not just emotionally, but physically. Nourishment right now isn't just about fuel, it's about frequency. Foods that hold water, plants that grow close to the earth, and infusions that echo the rhythms of nature help return you to your own center. Green vegetables and calming herbal teas like chamomile aren't merely healthy, they carry a vibration of peace. Eating with intention is not about control, it's about care. You're not trying to fix yourself, you're trying to remember what it feels like to be steady and soft at the same time. Colors, too, are not just visual choices. They hold energetic properties that influence the way we process emotions and relate to our environment. For a Libra in transition, soft pastel blues, delicate pinks, and luminous whites are more than aesthetic, they are anchors. Pastel blue offers comfort and clears the emotional fog. Blush pink supports you in receiving love without guilt. Pearl white brings mental clarity and a sense of cleanliness in both thought and intention. Dressing with these in mind isn't vanity, it's a way of aligning your external environment with your internal healing. You may also feel drawn to certain stones right now, and that's not random. Crystals aren't magical solutions, but they're beautiful reminders. Rose quartz, for instance, doesn't force love into your life, but it encourages you to treat yourself like someone worthy of gentleness. Blue lace agate won't solve conflict, but it helps you express what's in your heart without self-censoring. Amethyst won't erase overthinking, but it can remind you to pause, to breathe, to return. These stones are tools not because they change everything, but because they help you return to a calmer, clearer version of yourself. Stillness doesn't mean passivity. These small acts, eating mindfully, dressing with care, sitting with a candle, listening to music that has no lyrics but soothes your soul, are movements of courage. They may not be visible to others, but they are loud to your nervous system. They say, I matter. My needs are real. I am allowed to take care of myself. Even scripture reminds us that caring for ourselves is not selfish, it's sacred. You were never meant to pour from an empty cup. And you don't need permission to restore what life has drained from you. As you move through this season, think of these practices not as extras, but as essentials. They are the bridge between knowing and becoming. They help your body believe the truth your spirit already knows, that healing is happening, and it's okay to meet it halfway. So take the nap. Light the candle. Pour the tea. Wrap yourself in softness. These are not escapes. They are declarations. I choose peace not as a reward, but as a right. There comes a point in every journey where clarity doesn't come from thinking more, it comes from choosing more honestly. After so many steps taken trying to be everything for everyone, you arrive at the edge of a softer truth. Peace is not about being agreeable, it's about being aligned. This is where Libra stands now. In a season where the desire to maintain outer balance is finally being asked to make space for inner truth. Not because there's something wrong with wanting harmony, but because true harmony requires you to be fully present, not just pleasing. As the Queen of Swords rises in your reading, she brings with her a sharpness that doesn't cut to harm, but to free. She's the part of you that has witnessed enough, weighed enough, and is finally ready to draw a line not out of coldness, but from clarity. She holds truth in one hand and compassion in the other. She doesn't raise her voice, but when she speaks, people listen. And perhaps more importantly, she listens to herself. That's the part of you this card is activating now, the one who knows the difference between self-sacrifice and self-respect. The star follows not long after, and that's no coincidence. That card only ever appears when the storm has passed, when you've finally said the hard thing, walked away from the thing that was never yours to carry, or simply admitted that something needs to change. It's the glimmer of hope that comes not because everything is perfect, but because you're no longer pretending it is. This is a sacred kind of hope, the kind that can only grow in soil that's been tilled by truth. Now is the time to look at what you've been carrying that no longer feels like yours. Maybe it's an old role, the fixer, the peacekeeper, the one who always knows the right thing to say. Or maybe it's a relationship, a job, a pattern of self-censorship that once helped you survive, but now keeps you small. It's okay to acknowledge that something no longer fits. It's okay to change. That isn't betrayal, it's evolution. If you've been hesitating to make a decision because you're afraid of how someone else will feel, pause and ask yourself, what would my life look like if I stopped performing peace and started living from truth? Not to provoke, not to divide, but to realign. You are allowed to take up space. You are allowed to be the fullest version of yourself, even if that means being misunderstood for a while. The people who truly belong in your life will not love you less for being real. They will love you more for finally being honest. As a gentle practice, take a moment to write down 3 things you are ready to stop doing, not out of rejection, but because they no longer reflect who you are becoming. Then, write down 1 thing you want to start, even if no one else approves. Let that be your commitment to yourself. Speak the word no when you need to. Whisper it if you must at first, but say it anyway. Because every time you do, you clear space for the bigger yes that's been waiting to enter your life. There is wisdom in the stillness you've been feeling. Don't rush past it. You are not behind. You are right on time. Even scripture reminds us gently, always, that truth is a form of freedom. So let yourself be free, Libra. Not by running, but by returning to what's real. And when you choose to honor that quiet knowing inside you, you'll notice something remarkable. The universe stops testing you and starts walking with you. Because when you're no longer resisting truth, you're moving in the direction of your destiny. If you've made it to this moment, Libra, take a breath, a real one, and know that you've just gifted your soul something rare: presence. This wasn't just a horoscope. It was a mirror. A soft reminder that your craving for harmony isn't weakness, it's part of your genius. But harmony, the kind that truly nourishes you, doesn't always come from keeping everything smooth. It often arrives the moment you stop hiding what's real in order to protect what's comfortable. You've been taught perhaps for years that balance means being neutral, agreeable, easy. But now you know better. Balance is not about being still. It's about being centered. It's not about avoiding change, it's about knowing when change is the only honest option left. You are allowed to grow beyond the roles that once defined you. You are allowed to rewrite the rules you once followed out of fear. True peace begins the moment you stop making yourself small just to keep things pleasant. So let me ask you this: what if you didn't have to carry both sides of the scale anymore? What if you trusted that your needs are just as sacred as everyone else's? What would your relationships look like if you stopped overthinking and started expressing what you really feel? And most importantly, who might you become if you finally gave yourself permission to change? These aren't questions to fear. They are invitations. Gentle openings to a life that feels more yours, less edited. Don't rush the answers. Let them come as you begin to apply the messages you've just received. Whether it's by journaling tonight, speaking a truth you've been holding back, or simply taking 10 quiet minutes to breathe and ask, what do I really want right now? Know that healing is already unfolding through your willingness to listen. And if something you heard today touched a part of you that's been waiting for a sign, let yourself respond. Say it out loud in the comments: I am Libra, I choose to live truthfully, not just peacefully. Let those words anchor you. Let them be your beginning. If this video felt like a weight lifting off your chest, or even just a gentle nudge back toward yourself, please like it. It tells the algorithm you care, but more importantly, it tells you that your voice matters here. And if you want this kind of clarity and calm to be part of your life more often, don't forget to subscribe to Zodiac Whisper Tarot. This isn't just a channel. It's a sacred circle. And I would be honored to continue walking this journey of truth, balance, and soulful transformation with you. You are not too much. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are just becoming. And that, Libra, is the most beautiful balance of all.